Hey, how you doing? It's Liam from Push Square, and ever since the PlayStation 5 was first announced, excited fans have been desperately awaiting answers to some big questions. What does the UI look like? How does the SSD enhance next generation games? And most importantly, how big is this thing? It looks massive. It looks huge. And weirdly, we still can't really get a clear answer on just how big is the PlayStation 5. We know that it's huge, bigger than a PlayStation 4, bigger even than an Xbox Series X, which is already a pretty hefty piece of kit. But without a PlayStation 5 unit to play around with, without accurate information online that demonstrates how big the PlayStation 5 is compared to other pieces of hardware, I've been desperate to find out just how big this console is. So I wanted to find out more. So I did the only logical thing one can do. I made my own out of cereal boxes. Anyway, before we start today's very professional video, if you could like this video and subscribe to the channel, it would really help us out. Last week, Sony released the PlayStation 5 teardown video, which gave us a better look at the console and all of its metal guts. In that video, the size of the PlayStation 5 was reaffirmed. The PlayStation 5 is 104mm wide, 390mm high, and 260mm deep. The console looked enormous in the video. I mean, it was like the same size as this guy's torso. And watching it, I was just completely confused by how big this system actually is. It can't actually be that big, right? A lot of people went onto Twitter and did what they normally do. They made some very funny memes about the size of the console, but I needed to know how big this thing was. So I did a little bit of digging. There have been a few attempts online to try and communicate how big the PlayStation 5 will be. The closest thing we have to an accurate comparison between other hardware are these renders from late September by Twitter user Kaisawada. These images show the system next to other modern day games consoles stacked up neatly next to each other on a very nice TV stand. These pictures seem pretty accurate. They show the system next to other consoles such as a PlayStation 4, a Nintendo Switch when docked, next to various TV sizes, next to a cat, which is helpful. We can see from these pictures that the PlayStation 5 is about 3 times as tall as a Switch when docked. It's just a little bit taller than a PlayStation 4. Compared to its direct competitors, the PlayStation 5 is around 89mm taller and 110mm deeper than a Series X. The Series S is about the third of the width of the Series X, so the PlayStation 5 is way bigger than the Series S. Although these renders are based on accurate measurements, you lose a sort of tactile realism when you render them in 3D. So I went hunting for more answers. The closest thing we have to accurate, realistic depictions of the console out in the wild are the various videos of Japanese YouTubers who recently were able to record some hands-on footage of the system. These videos are pretty good. We get to see the content creators standing around the system, albeit in a very controlled environment, and it looks pretty big. But there are no comparisons to the system with other consoles. And indeed, in the thumbnail for this video in particular, it looks like they've made it look a little bit smaller, which doesn't help me on my quest to discover how big this system truly is. Now, there are many videos online where people are claiming to have access to a PlayStation 5. In the majority of cases, they're just using some kind of AR tech to render a PlayStation 5 on a table next to other consoles, which isn't an accurate way of doing it. And I was watching some other videos of media personalities who have had access to the Xbox Series X. They were holding it in their hands. They were putting it next to other systems to try and communicate how this console will look when it's on your TV stand next month. And I had had enough. I needed to know how big this huge console is going to actually be when it comes out in less than a month. And I realised I didn't have to wait for Sony to send a PlayStation 5 to another content creator. I didn't need to try and use AR technology to put a fake PlayStation 5 on a table. I have the measurements from the teardown video. I have access to cardboard and paper. So I thought to myself, I'm going to make a PlayStation 5. So I did. Now, for starters, I grabbed my nearest empty cereal box, which in this case was a box of bran flakes. They keep me regular, let's not talk about it. And I thought, alright, let's go. So I got to work. I started to measure out bits of cardboard and sellotape them together. I also used an old Amazon box, and let me tell you, both of these materials are very flimsy. Building the PlayStation 5 took me about an hour and a half. It's not structurally sound at all. It's held together by more sellotape than I'm willing to admit. Towards the end of my little engineering project, I realised that I had sellotaped the parts together the wrong way around, so all of the branding for the bran flakes was on the outside of the console, which was stupid. But at the end of it all, I had an accurate model of a PlayStation 5. So here it is, in all of its glory, my greatest creation. This is how big a PlayStation 5 is. I'm aware it's terrible. Even though this is a monstrosity that should never have been created, it really does give an accurate reflection of just how big the PlayStation 5 truly is. It's enormous. Here it is next to a PlayStation 4 Pro, which I always considered to be quite a hefty system, especially compared to the original launch PlayStation 4. It's bigger. Considerably so. When both systems are viewed from the— I'm using the word system, I mean, it's a cardboard box, but you know what I mean. When viewing both systems on their side, you can see as well that the PlayStation 5 is much wider than the PlayStation 4 Pro, and when placed flat, the PlayStation 5 is about 10 to 15 centimeters taller, and I'm not even sure if the stand on the PlayStation 5, when you lay it on its side, will add a little more height to the console. I assume it will. So I'd already set up my camera, so I thought, well, how much bigger is the PlayStation 5 compared to other pieces of tech? Here it is next to a docked Nintendo Switch. Like I mentioned when we were talking about the render earlier in this video, the PlayStation 5 is absolutely about 3 times as tall as a docked Nintendo Switch, and here it is next to the original design of the PlayStation 3. To be honest, I was shocked by how much bigger a PlayStation 5 will be compared to the launch PlayStation 3. The original design of the PlayStation 3 has always felt like the bulkiest, biggest console ever made, but somehow the PlayStation 5 is both taller when both systems are stood up. It's almost as wide— oh, hold on, just need to turn this around, gotta do this properly. It's almost as wide, they're about the same width, I think. And lying down on their sides, the PlayStation 5 is also just a little bit taller. So if you were wondering how big the PlayStation 5 will be compared to your original model PlayStation 3, the answer is, yeah, a little bigger somehow, which is wild. And finally, just to have an accurate comparison, much like the one seen in the render, here's how big the PlayStation 5 is compared to my cat, Shari. She tried to eat the PlayStation 5 straight away, and to be honest, she didn't really seem too keen on the system at all. She must be more excited about the Series X. She has always struck me as a Halo fan. I can't really communicate as to why. So after creating my large cardboard sun, I've come to the conclusion that the PlayStation 5 is absolutely massive. Like, bigger than I thought it would be, and I already expected it to be absolutely huge. I think it's going to be the biggest game console I've certainly ever owned, and I will absolutely be holding on to my cardboard version to compare it against the real thing when it launches in just over a month's time, here in the UK anyway. So thank you very much for watching this video. Has this video helped you understand just how big the PlayStation 5 is? I hope so, because otherwise this entire endeavour is just a cry for help. Please leave whatever thoughts you may have in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, and make sure to subscribe to Push Square for everything Cardboard PlayStation. I'll see you next time.